Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in with us. This is the Work.Talk.Lift Podcast. I'm Joseph Lee, and this is the mental health series. And today we have Ray joining us. Ray, thank you so much for coming.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Just a brief overview. This episode will be focusing on Ray's story, specifically sexuality and identity, and self-confidence. Ray, for the audience members that don't know who you are and should really know who you are, can you just give us a little background of yourself?
Of course. So this is Ray, and I'm 22 years old. I'm Brazilian, and I'm from Harrison, New Jersey. I'm a senior at Rutgers University. I'm studying public relations and business, and I'm super passionate about music, entertainment, fashion, working out, yoga, just like fostering real connections with people. And I'm a fag. I'm gay. So we're going to be talking about this.
I'm going to go straight into it, right? I think a big point that everyone wants to know is, like, can you give us some backstory on your journey? Like, for some people that are maybe, like, wanting to come out of the closet or in that process of, like, learning how to, like, kind of block out the noise and be true to themselves, like, when did that journey start to happen for you? And, like, when did you start figuring out, like, who you are? Or was that something that you always knew and you just needed to, like, you know what I mean? Like, let people know, like, this is finally who I am,
Yeah. So I've always known who I am. And I've always been gay. Like, I always knew that I was gay. But there are, like, several internal battles when you're, like, becoming conscious about that. And it's really hard to accept yourself and embrace who you are as a person, as a gay person, because in my personal journey, my family is very Christian on my mom's side, and very, like, not very, but a little bit conservative. So, like, they believe in Christianity. So I grew up with that ideal that being gay is a sin, that I'm going to hell, those ideologies. And I was just always afraid and always, like, blocking that. In my mind, I was like, no, I'm not gay. Like, even though I knew that I was gay, I was always like, no, I can't be this way. Like, at one point, like, when I was young, I was really into church. Like, I was like, because it was something that it was the only thing that I knew at that point. There was nothing else that I knew. Like, my mind was so constructed in those ideologies that I was like, oh, this is who I am. Like, I just kept, like, pushing it away. So that was like very hard. I was about, like, 8, 9 years old. But as I said, like, I always knew. But my family is also very, very, very accepting of myself. Like, they love me. I know that they love me. They accept for who I am. And we actually talk about this topic a lot in my house. It's not like, oh, we cannot talk about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know what you are. Like, we accept you, but don't talk about this topic in the house. Don't let anybody else know, like, they're not like that. You know what I mean? But as I said, it's not, like, completely fine. You know what I mean? So I actually never had to come out to them because it was me. Like, you know me, Joe. I've always been like this. Like, I've always been flamboyant. I've always been kind of feminine. I've always had so many girlfriends growing up. Like, all of my friends, my best friends were always girls. And so it was just something that was there. You know what I mean? I never had to, like, oh, Mom, come here. Like, I have to talk to you and tell you something, because she already knew. But when I was 16, we did talk a little bit, like, okay, like we know. It was super fine. You know what I mean? But accepting myself was really hard growing up, especially because, like, in school, for example, like, people make fun of you. I was made fun of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're always like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I don't want to be this way. But at the end of the day, like, this is who I am. I was born this way. You just have to work on yourself to really, really accept and embrace who you are as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, when I just look at you, like, I don't see, oh, Ray's gay, right? I think you're more than just your sexual preference, right? Or your
Right.
sexuality. Like, I see you as someone that's super confident, and that kind of exuberates out of you, and, like, it's contagious. Like I catch on to it. Like, that's why so many people
Thank
want to
you.
hang around you, right? But I kind of want to get to that, right? Like, really who you are too, like, in that other aspect in terms of, like, personality. Like, you always being fearless and unashamed of who you are and confident. Like, was that something that you were born with, or was that something that you slowly started to develop for yourself? Like, where did that come from? Is it maybe like a cultural thing? Because, like, you know how, like, in Brazilian culture, in the Brazilian culture, you know how everyone's very, like, very confident, you know, very proud of themselves. Like, where does that come from?
I think it's both. You know what I mean? Some people are born with like more tendencies to be confident, and some people really have to build their confidence up. And confidence is definitely something that you can work on and build up and develop. But I also believe that some people are just born more confident, if that makes sense. And to be honest with you, I think that the majority of people in the LGBTQ plus community, like, we were just born with this exuberant confidence. You know what I mean? But you can definitely work on it. I think that growing up, I literally, like, was taught to shrink myself a lot because of who I am. You know what I mean? Like, this happens not only with gay people, but with women, people of color. Like, when you're a little bit out of the standards, you are taught to, like, shrink yourself. So sometimes, especially in classrooms, I might have come off a little bit shy sometimes, especially growing up, like, first day of school, like, you know, like 5th or 6th grade. And then, so because we're taught to shrink ourselves so much, it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to foster that confidence. So it's definitely something that I had to work on, but I knew that I had in me. You know what I mean? So confidence was, like, something that I had to work on. For example, like, growing up, as I said before, people are very mean. Like, kids are very mean. So, as I said, I've always been very flamboyant. I was made fun of. I was called a fag, like, CC, like, you're gay, da-da-da, always. But I was never a victim. You know what I mean? I always stood up for myself, which I know it's kind of hard sometimes, and not everyone is like me. But I was just like, no, I'm not gonna. It got to a point where I was like, I'm not gonna pretend to be someone I'm not just to make these people happy. Like, who are they? You know what I mean? And then I just kind of, like, rewired my brain to be happy with who I am and to embrace who I am. And, like, and it's really hard. It's really hard. You know what I mean? Like, this is my personal experience, but I guess I also, like, I've always had so many friends around me, which helped me a lot. So I just began to, like, I need to be who I am. If I want to wear this, I'm going to wear this. And it was very uncomfortable until like this day. Like, it is uncomfortable sometimes. Something that happened to me in my freshman year, I went to a frat party, and this, like, frat boy, like, called me a fag my freshman year. And I was like, all right, so what? So the next weekend, I was like, I'm going to go to the same party, and I'm going to wear a crop top, because that's going to make me, like, that's going to show these motherfuckers that I'm confident and I'm not scared of you and I'm not going to try to fit your standards. It's a party. Like, I belong to wherever I want to be. If I want to go to a frat party, I'm going to go to a frat party. And I'm going to wear whatever the fuck I want to wear. You know what I mean? Was I scared? Of course. I was shitting my pants. And I was like, but you know what? Like, this is who I am. I'm going to do this. And I went. And deep down, I honestly think that that boy was just so, his mind was just so toxic, like filled with toxic masculinity, that he was just like, how can I explain this? He wanted me to shrink myself so he could be comfortable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The person who I am, like the person who I am makes him uncomfortable. Because he's not like, his mind isn't free. He abides to societal standards to such extent that me being myself made him uncomfortable. You know, and that proves that he's insecure. That he was definitely like insecure about his sexuality. You know what I mean? So deep down, he just, I don't know, just wanted to wear a crop top too. You know what I mean?
And sorry.
No, you're fine. And when you do things like this, you just become more confident. When you get out of your comfort zone and you're like, you fight, you're like, I'm going to do it. Even though I'm scared, I'm going to do it because nobody else is going to do it for me. You have to step out of your comfort zone and like be who you are. You know what I mean? If I want to wear a crop top, I'm going to wear a damn fucking crop top. If I want to wear makeup, I'm going to do it. It is hard. Yes, it is hard. We live in a very homophobic, racist, and sexist world. But if you don't fight against it, somehow it's just going to stay this way. And no, like, we have to change it.
That was absolutely amazing. And there's so many key points that you can learn from that. I think instead of letting that affect you, you kind of went right back into the fire and you're like, here I am, and you like outshone that. And like you said, like growing up, you were always that like really kind of confident kid and you didn't let anything like really bother you. So for those people that are having like a hard time dealing with that, I mean, would your words of advice be like, just go at it? You know what I mean? What's the worst that can happen? Or how do you encourage those that are scared, right? Like, what would you tell them?
Well, we're all different, right? It's not because I am outgoing that the next gay person have to be outgoing too. Some people are more like keep it more to themselves, or more shy, or more scared. But the thing that I want to tell everyone is that be yourself and focus on yourself. You know what I mean? Focus on what makes you happy. For me, part of this journey to build up my confidence was I started to work out. I started to do yoga, meditate, talk about things. The more you talk about it, like the more you let the wall down, the more positive energy you attract. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we don't want to talk about our flaws. We don't want to talk about the things that we don't like about ourselves. And it is a good exercise to help you build up your confidence. You know what I mean? Like pretend, like if you need to pretend, just pretend, fake it until you make it. You know what I mean? Go out there, like change the thoughts in your mind. Change your mindset. You know what I mean? Like music have always helped me. Like listen to lyrics that talk about being yourself, you know, embrace that person that you have, because everyone has like a superstar in themselves. Everyone has a celebrity in themselves. That's the way I see people. But with all these negative energies, these ideologies, like these people, like this frat guy, for example, like somebody so small, they always contribute to building a wall that will make you make you hide this big persona that you have inside of you. So focus on yourselves. If you are going through something, like you out there, like whoever's watching this, if you're gay, if you're lesbian, if you're transgender, if you are bisexual, bi-curious, whatever you are, explore yourself. Look it up, read about it, watch a video, watch this podcast that we're making right now. Let yourself open your mind, you know what I mean? And always, always, always focus on yourself. Go for a run. Listen, like, do things that you enjoy as a person. Sometimes you need time alone too. So focus on yourself, you know what I mean? For there was a period in my life that you know that I like parties a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love parties. I like drinking. But it got to a point in my life where I noticed that I needed to focus on myself, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. Like, I'm gonna stop drinking as much. And it was awesome, you know. I'm back to normal. Like, I study, I do my things, I focus on me. When I want to party, I party. When I want to be alone, I be alone. You know what I mean? So I feel like people just need to focus on themselves and figuring out who they are. Because, like, especially men, it's not defending men at all, but especially men, like, we're not given the opportunity to explore ourselves sexually as much as women in this aspect, like homosexuality, because like girls are more free in this specific aspect. Like, they can like hold their girlfriend's hand and like kiss each other, or even when you go to a party, for example, and you see two girls making out, like, guys think it's hot. It's not. But if you, as a straight guy, if you show any type of affection towards your male friend, you're automatically, like, there's a red flag, especially for like you know, like straight guys, like, oh, no, you can't. So like, I feel like straight men are not given as much sexual freedom.
Mm-hmm. And
it's because, like, and honestly, they did it to themselves, like, back then, you know. Like, you have, like, men are taught, like, you can't cry, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then they grow up, like, how many times I've hooked up with straight guys who wanted their experience. They get to college and they're like, all right, I didn't explore myself throughout high school or even, like, in college. And then they get so, like, they literally shrink themselves and put, like, a wall of toxic masculinity in front of them just to prove a point to society. And then they just lose themselves. Like, just let it go. Like, just explore yourself. I've explored myself. Like, I've hooked up with girls. I've had sex with girls. You know what I mean? So just focus on you guys. Like, if you want to do something, do it. You know? It's how you build your confidence. Change your mindset. Like, you can do it. Like, anything. You can literally do anything. You have a superstar in you, you know. And until this day, I am working on my confidence. You know what I mean?
I think that kind of blows my mind. Like, because you said to this day you're working on your confidence. I'm like, wait, what? Because I don't know. Like, I can't ever imagine that. Because just a little story. When I was in the library and I was studying with you, I remember, like, I was going through self-confidence issues, and you met me during a time period where I was trying to figure out who I am as an independent male. Just as an individual male, right? And I remember telling you, I was like, great, you think I'm cute? And you started laughing at me because you saw how serious I was about it. And you're like, yeah, of course. What's wrong? And I was like, I was going through self-confidence issues. And to you, it was funny. And I was like, what do you got to worry about? You have no one to worry about. You know, it's just you. And you saw... like, what I want to bring up is you're super nice and forgiving of everyone. That's why I'm so proud that you're my friend. Like, that's why, like, I keep introducing you to my friends. Yo, this is right, you know? And you're like, yeah. And everyone just loves you. And it's the fact that you're so willing to help people. And, like, like your self-confidence isn't to the point where it's like past cocky, you know what I mean? And like you're just like, oh, I'm too good, like I don't want to help you out. Like where does that like giving come from?
I feel like people who are that way, cocky, and they're just not confident. They pretend to be confident to hide their insecurities. And the same wall that we put in front of us to shrink ourselves, some people overly do it to display a persona that has confidence, but deep down they don't. If you're not willing to help people and to create like positive connections with others, and to like, if you're not able to like give somebody a compliment, that means that you're not like, I can definitely tell when somebody's actually confident and when somebody is just like pretending to be confident by being cocky. You know, these people are sometimes rude. Like, there's no need for that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm better than you. Like I don't think I'm better than anybody. I don't think that you're better than anybody. We're all good in our own ways, you know. You do things that I can't do. I do things that you can't do. We all have our value, our qualities, and that's what we have to focus on. You know what I mean? And if there's something that I don't like about myself, I'm going to work to make it better. You know what I mean? And I just feel like people, like, sometimes are so entitled. And they're like, oh, I need it this way. I need it my way. If it's not my way, like, I get an attitude. You know what I mean? Like, you have to work with people. You know what I mean? And I just feel like some people just fake it. Like, they fake it because there's something internal going on. You know what I mean? And they should work on it. They're not a bad person. It doesn't mean that a cocky person is a bad person. Like, he or she is definitely going through something. And that's their brain's reaction to that inner issue that they have. So, as I said, just work on being a better person. Nobody who's truly confident is toxic. You know what I mean? Because these people are just very toxic. Like, so many examples at Rutgers, like, so many frat parties that I've been to, and there's so much toxicity in it. Like, so many guys pretending to be so confident and what do? Like, they treat girls like trash, or they treat other people like trash. They're always, like, taking advantage of people, or always trying to show off, like, how much money they have, or, like, how awesome they are, or how good they look. If you truly are that good, like, you don't need to be bringing it, like, affirming yourself all the time. Self-assurance, I don't know.
Yes, self-assurance, yeah.
Yeah, that. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that they need to work on, but it's hard, especially with, like, social media. It's, like, it goes so much, like, deep. Like, this issue, like, is so deep. But, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining our podcast. I think you brought up, like, amazing points, like, really digging into yourself and, you know, talking about it, right? For example, and having, like, a great support system. So for our listeners, do you have any last words of advice on working and just self-confidence and just how to be a better person?
Get active. I would say get active. If it's physically, mentally, go for a run, study, read, work on, like, pretend, talk to yourself. You know what I mean? And honestly, family is very hard, because I know that out there's, like, families that are so different, especially because like, in America, like, there's people from so many different cultures, and each culture has, like, their different ways to approach these things. Not every family will be like mine, accepting like mine. And honestly, people, it's not because they're family that they're not toxic. family members can be toxic, and they are sometimes. Cut them. You know what I mean? Like, find your own family. Try to work with them, though. Try to work with them at first. Talk. Try to educate them. Compromise. Do your part. But if ultimately they don't want to compromise with you, who's going through something out there, you can find your own family. You know what I mean? If it's toxic, if you have toxic parents, toxic family members, just cut them and be yourself. You know what I mean? And work on yourself. Everyone has their qualities. Every time a bad thought comes into your mind, be like, think about your journey, everything that you've achieved. You know what I mean? You woke up today. That's great. You can do so much. Everyone has a potential. As I said before, everyone has a celebrity inside of them. And just let it loose. Just let it go. Get active. Do your thing.
Thank you so much.